Hey guys, what's up? It's Master Pro, and today I'm going to be reading you my new home invasion book that I wrote. And you guys already know that that's coming out soon. I have a lot of videos I need to release soon. I'm sorry, I've been way behind. Some videos should be coming out today. So, let's get into the book. I gotta find it. Alright, here we go. Home invasion. Alright. Here's the book. Jay Lanson always felt like something bad was going to happen. Only 5 years old, his brothers were Cole Lanson, 9 years old, and Jeff Lanson, 12 years old. They were adopted by a married couple 2 years ago. Jay never liked being the smallest, but he had to deal with it. Their parents were currently in jail and were about to be released the next week. All three of the kids agreed they didn't want to go back to their real parents. Besides, the judge had already placed a restraining order on the parents. They really liked their adoptive parents anyway. But Jay couldn't help the feeling that something bad was happening soon. One day at breakfast, Jason Lanson, their dad, noticed something on the news. People's houses in the next town over were invaded, and nothing was stolen. Kelsey Lanson, their mom, was getting a bit anxious with the invasions and other things. She lessened the time Cole, Jay, and Jeff could be outside. Jeff didn't mind because he had things he liked to do inside. Cole and Jay, on the other hand, wanted to play outside. No way, said Kelsey. You are not going outside with some maniac on the loose. Kelsey loves you, guys, Jason said. She would never want you to get hurt. Later that night, Kelsey was becoming more anxious. Do you think we should go to my parents' house for a while in Pennsylvania? The kids don't have any school, so we wouldn't be missing anything. I promise it's fine, said Jason. The police and FBI are already on the case. Okay, if you're sure, said Kelsey. I'm sure, said Jason. 7 a.m. the next morning, their neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, knocked on the door. Cole answered the door. Hi, Cole, Mr. Jackson said. Look how big you've gotten, Mrs. Jackson said. So what's going on? Cole asked. Well, we were wondering if we could talk to your parents, Mr. Jackson said. Okay, said Cole. Cole called for Kelsey and Jason. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, said Kelsey. What's going on? Well, 2 large holes appeared in our backyard this morning, Mrs. Jackson said. That's odd, Jason said. We believe it was from the violent storm last night, Mrs. Jackson explained. That's probably it, Jason said. Well, just keep an eye on the holes for us, would you? Mr. Jackson said. We will, said Jason. Bye now. Later that night, Jay was playing a board game with Jeff. Aw, man, you beat me again, said Jeff. Jay laughed. All of a sudden, Cole rushed from the hallway. Jason, Kelsey, Cole said. What, said Kelsey, who was getting anxious again. There's something in the back of the Jackson's yard. It's probably just an animal, Jason said. Kelsey wasn't so sure about that. Jason, can you go check? Kelsey said. Sure, he said. Jason walked through the hallway to see 2 human-shaped figures in the backyard that definitely weren't the Jacksons. Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson were on the patio of their house having a cup of coffee. What's that noise, asked Mr. Jackson. I don't know, said Mrs. Jackson. At that moment, one of the windows shattered. Mrs. Jackson screamed. Be quiet, Mr. Jackson said. Then the power went out. After 5 minutes, Mr. Jackson reached for the patio door. As he opened, he saw a knife slash through the air and hit his hand. The last thing he heard was Mrs. Jackson's screams. By now, the whole Lanson family had gathered by the window. Jeff pointed out the 2 figures, each pulling something across the yard. Look, Jeff said. They're pulling what looks like bodies through the yard. It didn't take long for the Lansons to figure out what they were dragging. Call the police, said Kelsey whispered. By the time police officers Jenny and Dave made it to the Jackson's house, it was too late. Mr. Jackson was dead and Mrs. Jackson was unconscious and on the way to the emergency room. Jenny and Dave had checked the Jackson's house for intruders, but there was no sign of anyone. Kelsey, already at the brim of having a nervous breakdown, wanted the cops to watch their house for the night. The police had agreed. You wouldn't think there'd be murders in this town, Jenny said. Yeah, it's such a small town, Dave added. Dave noticed the car circling the neighborhood 3 times in a row. After 20 minutes of this, someone stepped out of the car. "Who are you?" asked Dave. The two figures didn't answer. By now, Jenny had stepped out of the car. "This is private property," she said kind of quietly. The taller figure, who appeared to be a man, tilted his head. Then all of a sudden, he pulled a gun on Jenny and shot her in the arm. Jenny fell to the ground in pain. Dave was chased by them around the car before the smaller figure shot him in the head. The Lansons were alert to the chaos going on outside. Jason took Jay and Cole with him, while Kelsey took Jeff with her. Jeff and Kelsey hid in a basement closet, which had a secret extra space in it. Jason, Cole, and Jay headed to the upstairs where they hid in the bathroom with double locks on it. They all stayed quiet. While the intruders were focused on Dave, making sure he was dead from the headshot, Jenny ran to the garage door. She banged hard on it, but no one answered. "Please answer," she cried in fear. All of a sudden, the garage opened. "Phew," she said. "We need to call the—" She stopped talking. It wasn't the Lansons. It was the intruders. Jenny slipped on the rainwater in the garage and fell to the floor. The intruders closed the garage, and it came down on her neck. The other intruder had already broken in the house and was heading upstairs. Jason, armed with only a pistol, held the gun at the door. They heard the intruder brush against the door and kept walking. Phew, Cole said. Then Jay began to cry. The intruder had come back and was in the same hallway as the bathroom. Not sure which room they were in. "Cup your hand on Jay's mouth, Cole," Jason whispered. Cole muffled the crying. The intruder tried to open the bathroom door, but was unsuccessful. The intruder broke one of the locks with a shotgun. Kelsey and Jeff came out of their spot to run to the kitchen, each armed with a knife. Both of the intruders were now at the door. Jason and Cole and Jay were. Kelsey went up first with Jeff behind her. Kelsey jumped on the taller intruder and knocked him out, missing the knife swing. Jeff was unsuccessful and was thrown to the ground. The intruder that threw Jeff was now holding Kelsey at gunpoint. The intruder whispered, "Give us our kids back." Kelsey realized these people had been the old parents of Jeff, Cole, and Jay, the ones that were released from jail. One of the intruders was coming back from being unconscious. They were now both holding a pistol at Kelsey. "The government took them away from us," the dad said. "They said we were unfit parents," said the mom. "We've been invading houses upon houses to find you," the mom said quietly, "and now we're going to get our kids back." Right as the dad was about to shoot, Jason ran out of the bathroom and shot him. Then the mom turned around and shot Jason in the leg. He fell to the ground. The mom was about to shoot Kelsey when Cole and Jay tripped her. Kelsey caught the gun in the air. "Game over," Kelsey said. The police and ambulance arrived in less than 10 minutes. The Lansons were fine, Jason being wounded in the leg, but okay. The mom and dad were wounded and going to be getting a life sentence to jail. The Lansons stayed the night with Jason and Mrs. Jackson. Sadly, Mr. Jackson had passed away. Jenny and Dave were also dead. Kelsey returned to their house the next day. She noticed a note on her desk. It read, "Dear Kelsey, we will stop at nothing to get our kids back, no matter what the cost. You may have won this time, but we will be back. See you soon. Signed, the real parents." Alright guys, thank you for listening to the book. That should be the base of the storyline when we make the movie. There might be a few character changes. There's definitely a possibility of more than one character changes. Or just a different story a little bit, but most of it will hopefully be the same. So yeah, this is the book I wrote for my new movie, and it should be out in like the next week or two. Early July it should come out, so which is in like a few days. So see you guys in my next video, which might be today, and peace.